Good afternoon, everyone. If we can settle in here, we'll call the House Higher Education Committee to order on the 15th of March. I want to thank everybody for coming. We have four items on the agenda. We have five items on the agenda. We have four Senate bills on the agenda today. These will be hearings on all four of these bills, and then we'll meet in the future for action, possibly as early as 7:30 in the morning to do that. I wouldn't want anybody to sleep late on day 35. But the first thing we're going to do, and we have a sign-up sheet someplace out on the table, so we allow people to come and sign up if you just put the bill you wish to speak to on that. But before we do that, we did our best to let the senators know that we would be starting on the bills at 1:30, so that is our intention. We're going to take now a presentation on the REACH scholarship. If you recall at the last meeting, there was some conversation around this because I think it was Chairman Dickey had a bill that addressed that, and there were some questions. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to do that. So without further ado, we're going to turn this over to start the presentation to the president of the Georgia Student Finance Commission, President Lynn Riley, and it's your show, President Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee, and we very much appreciate the opportunity to give you some insights on why we are such champions for the REACH Georgia program. Mr. Chairman, we have a couple of members of the Georgia Student Finance Commission board here with us today. We have Commissioner Thad Thompson and Commissioner Scott Johnson, who's in the audience with us today. And following my remarks will be the chairman of the REACH Georgia Foundation, Mr. Michael Patrick. So thank you for giving us a few minutes today to talk about the REACH Georgia program. I will be talking mostly about why REACH exists and some of the metrics that we have gathered on the success of the program. But you can look at this slide and see why REACH Georgia exists. This is about empowering students that might not otherwise have an opportunity to go to post-secondary education and achieve and become part of our workforce. And as we know, we are staring down a labor shortage that will be something that we have to address and will have a long-lasting impact. And so the REACH program is leading the way in solving the workforce problem. We know that we're investing in students, and that's critical for solving this crisis. Our support begins in middle school and currently spans all 180 school districts across the state. Through mentors who guide middle school students from day one and all the way to high school graduation, we nurture the limitless potential in every student. With REACH, students have a champion, and Georgia will have a skilled workforce it needs to thrive. And I hope today, by the time we complete our remarks, we'll have more champions here in the room. REACH Georgia was launched in 2012 as a part of the Complete College Georgia initiative. As you all know, it is the state's first statewide needs-based scholarship and mentoring program. It is a public and private partnership, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And we select students at the 8th grade level and match them at that time with a mentor and academic coach to assist them through the 8th grade through 12th grade. Students must meet certain program requirements related to achievement behavior, and for that, they are eligible for a $10,000 scholarship upon high school graduation. 56 post-secondary institutions in the state of Georgia have committed to provide additional scholarships and supports when the students reach post-secondary. Some of them match the $10,000 scholarship, some double match, but all of these 56 post-secondaries provide additional resources to help these students achieve. The issue, of course, was to show that students from low socioeconomic backgrounds that are prone to challenges in their academic careers can be assisted by providing them with a mentor and with academic coaching. And the successes we have achieved since starting this program in 2012, we have 953 REACH scholars who have graduated from high school, and 76% of those scholars graduated with a HOPE-eligible GPA. So not only do they receive that $10,000 REACH scholarship, but they're eligible for other higher ed financial aid programs that we administer as well. One important piece of information to note is that these $10,000 scholarships are pre-funded from the funding that's provided by state appropriations and local matching dollars and other sources. When a student is signed in the 8th grade, $10,000 goes into a lockbox, if you will. That money is set aside so that we can ensure that we deliver on the promise that is made in 8th grade to these students. We talked at the previous hearing of Chairman Dickey's bill about scholarship eligibility, and this slide just speaks to the eligibility requirements for a student as they are selected in the 8th grade. There are certain disciplinary requirements and behaviors that they must continue to sustain while they are in high school. They must not have any violations for drug or alcohol convictions. Any problems that way, not truancy. And at their 8th grade signing ceremony, as many of you have attended, they'd sign an actual commitment form. Not only do they sign it, but their parents or guardians sign it, and the school system signs it, and the Georgia Student Finance Commission signs it as well. So there are 4 different entities that are agreeing to ensure the success of these REACH students. REACH mentoring, as I've said, is probably one of the most important factors in this program. It provides the wind beneath the wings of these students. They have someone that they can go to for teaching, role modeling, social supports, and just to be there sometimes with a friendly shoulder to help them understand the value of sticking to their academic progress and ensuring that they are eligible for all of these financial aid and additional supports when they go to higher ed. This is a slide I hope will show dynamically the growth of the program. I was not involved with it in 2012, but it started with only 3 counties and then grew over time to, in the end of 2021 calendar year, we were able to have all 180 public school districts participate in the program. And I have to give a lot of credit to predecessors at Georgia Student Finance Commission and members of the Reach Georgia Foundation that put their heart and soul into ensuring each of these 180 school districts would receive the assistance they need and assistance with the fundraising matches that were required of them. But a very proud metric within 10 years to go from 3 school districts participating to all 180. A success story. I wanted to share this with you. I was down at the Georgia Southern University's Governor's Honors Program this past weekend, where the semifinalists were there to do their auditions to be selected for the Governor's Honors Program. And this young man is Ian Barnes in the picture with me. He is a 10th grader from North Forsyth High School. He was applying as a semifinalist for the Governor's Honors Program, and he is a REACH student. He was selected in 8th grade. He comes from a very, actually, I don't believe first generation, but maybe second generation immigrant background. He is auditioning for a position in the Governor's Honors Program in multilingual capabilities. He is already fluent in more than 1 language, maybe even more than 2. But he just inspired me with the 10 minutes I got to spend with him, and I asked him if I could share his story, that he is thrilled that the Reach Georgia program is going to provide him with the funding. And he is showing us that with his desire to succeed, he's already been able to reach the semifinals of the Governor's Honors Program, and I know you know how special those students are. So here's an example of where the financial and the mentoring and the other supports, this young man, I believe we will be seeing him in the future of this state in many successful ways. Over 4,300 students are now participating in the program. As I said, we started off with just 3 systems and just a very few students in those first classes, but now we are enrolling between 700 and 800 students each year, and so it will continue to grow at that pace or greater as we move forward. We've had 6 high school classes graduate with 953 scholars. These scholars had a final GPA average of 3.2. 76% of these scholars are eligible for HOPE or Zell Miller in addition to the REACH scholarship. This graphic shows how REACH is, sorry about that. You want to help me?
I'm trying to see if
Oh,
that
I think you got
works.
it.
Okay.
Apologies for that little snafu. This gives you a graphic of how REACH Georgia is changing lives. These are some statistics over the past 11 years that we've been operating. 953 high school graduates. The scholars that have proceeded all the way through the program have all graduated from high school. 76 had a Hope eligible GPA. 87% are enrolling in post-secondary education, and we already have 75 REACH post-secondary graduates. 4,300 active scholars, as I said, and to date we have used $2.28 million in actual awards to the institutions for the scholars attending. Sure. 2.8 million has actually been paid to the institutions for the scholars that have enrolled. Demographics of the makeup of the REACH scholars, as you can see, it is very diverse population, for which we're proud. So far, we have over 43 million in scholarships that have been lockboxed, if you will, that are there for the students when they finish and go into post-secondary. If a student, for whatever reason, has to exit the program, those funds are provided to the school system to award to another student. So all of these funds eventually will be utilized for a student. But if we do have a situation where a student moves or for whatever reason has to exit the program, those dollars do not go to waste. They will be applied to another scholar in that district. Over time, $7.7 million of local fundraising has been performed by the school districts who are required to provide matching funds for the program. And as we said, we've had 733 scholars enrolled in last year's cohort. It's about that same number for this current academic year where we have just wrapped up the signing ceremonies. Chairman Dickey carried the bill, or was instrumental in the bill in 2019 that codified this program. Senate Bill 83 was adopted, and it defined local fundraising requirements. Based on certain statistics of a school district, there is a certain level of local fundraising of that $10,000 that is required for the local district to raise on behalf of each scholar. And as we are very grateful that the General Assembly has been appropriating $6.37 million each year as state funds to comprise a portion of the total $10,000 scholarship. I want to just read you a couple of comments. The foundation chartered a study on the value of the REACH Georgia program, and the Southern Regional Education Board released their report in May of 2022 with some information about the value and some of the comments about the positive effects on impacts of this program I just wanted to share. In Changing Lives and Futures, a comment from a academic coach, REACH Georgia is an investment in changing the trajectory of the lives of our students. REACH's impact on our students is their hope for their future. Eliminating the financial barriers, many had not considered college due to the cost, but REACH allows that dream to be attainable. And on the impact of the mentors and academic coaches, the confidence and growth that we have seen in our REACH scholars due to the one-on-one sessions are invaluable. Some of the feedback that the SREB report indicated was the great benefit of the mentoring and the coaching, and the needs that could be addressed that are currently lacking for the program would be additional resources to pay for the training materials for mentors and additional tools and resources available to academic coaches to ensure that our REACH students have everything they need to be successful. Mr. Chairman, that is the end of my slide, so presentation, but I would like to call, at your pleasure, Chairman Michael Patrick, the chairman of the Reach Georgia Foundation, to talk about what they have done to raise private funds and elevate the success of the program. Chairman.
Pull this up.
I see members, there's some questions. I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna let them go through the presentation, then we'll come back to the questions in order. Duly noted.
How are you doing? Well, and thank you for the opportunity. It's incredible to see all of you and the roles and responsibilities that you have. I know you take it extremely seriously, and we take what we're doing at Reach really seriously. So I just want to share, Lynn talked a little about what we've done from a numbers perspective. You've seen some of the students, and we want to give you an idea of like truly what are we trying to accomplish with this program and what we think it can mean for Georgia. So I'm going to start off with just I'm going to paraphrase a quote, but it says, "It is maintained that an infant of genius is quite the same as any other infant. Only certain surprisingly favorable influences accompany him through life, especially through childhood." A genius is the same in every child, right? And so as we think about what Georgia needs going forward, we think we're leaving a lot of genius on the table because the kids need more positive influences in their life earlier. They don't just need money. So as we're at every job announcement that comes out, this company's coming, X companies are coming, we're really excited about that. The other part of that is you have to have people that actually can do those jobs, right? I tell people I'm not very smart, but I like simple math. I can do simple math. It's simple math. We will not have enough workers to fill the jobs. You can look at any report. It's simple math. Reach can solve that. So I'm going to kind of walk through how we're thinking about it, because I think when we're thinking about genius, we equate that to GPA. It's like that's how you're measuring the genius in a child. But we can't assess genius by GPA alone. It's a really important metric. It's a universal metric. It's an easy metric, but it's not the only metric. Not all GPAs are created equal. I grew up with a teacher in my household and a lieutenant colonel in the Army. I had 3 meals a day. I had a roof over my head. I had love. Our family, we had the church. Not everyone has that. We had the church. And so I should have a high GPA. We have children sleeping in cars. What GPA should they have? We have children being trafficked. What GPA should they have? But they're geniuses. They just need more positive influences in their life, and that's what Reach is doing for them. We're not just giving them money, we're giving them influences. And so Reach is positioned to unlock the genius in our state with the mission to be the most effective champions for our children in need to unlock the full potential of our future workforce. That's our mission. And we're uniquely positioned for 4 reasons. 1, we have the mission to do it. If you don't have the mission to do it, you can't get there. Second is we have scale. And I think one of the numbers that's really important, what Lynn pointed out, is all 180 school systems in our state are participating. We actually can move the whole state. It should matter to everyone that's here. And that was one of our big goals for the first decade, a decade of work to get that in place. You don't want to reinvent that again. The third is academic coaching. So we're getting kids in 8th grade and all the way through high school, they're getting academic coaching to help them understand the process of what it means to apply to college. What does it mean to go to the Technical College of Georgia? What jobs are available to you? You could be a truck driver, you could be a software engineer, you could be a nurse, you could be a teacher. Most of these kids just see what's in their communities, and that's kind of limiting their view. They need more. Not only just what's the dream, but how do I get there? And then lastly is just a mentor. And that mentor isn't replacing parents that don't love their kids. Some parents work 2 jobs and can't be around as often, right? Some work in the mornings, some work overnight. It's not because they don't love their kids, it's because they're trying to put food on the table. And so the mentor plays a critical role. So those 4 things, mission, scale, academic coaching, and mentorship, are the combination we need to unlock the genius of our state. And so there's a lot of back and forth between merit-based scholarships and need-based scholarship. Our state needs both. We need Hope to be really, really strong. We need Reach to be stronger. It's going to take both. It's simple math. You have to have all the kids come through the system, be educated, and contribute for our state to work. Georgia does not work without REACH. So again, I just want to share those remarks with you. If you look at our board, we have 27 statewide leaders that most of us are running organizations, and we can see it. We're trying to figure out where's our future pipeline. They're not all in the Hope Scholarship. The numbers don't work. So we are extremely passionate about this program. We appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing. If you have any questions, you can text me directly. You can reach out to Lynn. We're happy to answer any questions that you do have. Our vision is that REACH becomes the brother of hope. We think it should be that big. Thank you.
Madam President, was there anyone else that you had for the presentation? We do have some questions, and so I'll go to the members and to whom they direct. If you direct the question to the chair, then we'll see if we'll let President Riley direct it from there. Chairman Perkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one is to President Riley, and I'm somewhat apprehensive in starting my question because I agree with the last statement that was said. This should be just a tremendously large effort for REACH Scholars. It's a wonderful, wonderful investment. I love the public-private partnership. It gets our community leaders involved, and I love it. And I'm somewhat skeptical about my question because I don't want to seem like the parent whose child went 3 for 4 with 3 home runs, and I ask, how about that time that you struck out? So my question is, of all the wonderful data that you had, 76% of the students, REACH students, are Hope eligible based on GPA. For my kids in my household, I told them explicitly, you need to know that when you run out of hope, you have run out of hope. And it is more pressing, I would think, for these first generation students going to school, that if they are not Hope eligible, in spite of the REACH scholarship, it makes it more difficult to go to secondary school. Do we see in the data, and have we looked at the data, if it is certain school systems that are doing really well with coaching, with mentors that have close to 100% Hope eligible GPA of our REACH scholars, and are we looking at ways that we can bump that 76% up to close to 100, like we have with the graduation rate?
Thank you, Chairman Perkle. Thank you for that question. Yes, the mentoring and the coaching make all the difference in the world. Certain school districts do have greater bandwidth and are able to provide all that's necessary to have all of their children be Hope eligible as well as receiving their REACH benefits. The feedback we receive, and SREB also indicated during their research, is the limited resources that some school districts have. And should they have more resources available to them, we would see even greater achievement, because they select the students. The school districts go through interview processes. They identify the students, first generation, low socioeconomic, that have all of the other ingredients to be genius. But with more tools, that certain number certainly would be higher.
Thank you, Chairman Perkle, and we're going to keep going on this. We have five more questions, so I'm going to ask everybody to be as succinct as possible with the question and the answer. This is very important, but we have 4 important propositions for our Senate colleagues that we want to make sure we get to this afternoon. So this may be the tip of the iceberg, as it relates to REACH. So we'll carry on. Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for this wonderful program. I'm also looking at the data and wondering, for the 87% that are, they're enrolling in college, so they're obviously using the scholarship, that means that there's 13% that have gone through the program, they've gone through the academic coaching, and they aren't. Is part of that because of the overlap between them not having the GPA to get HOPE, and therefore they still can't afford college even with the $10,000? And also, you stated that the money's already in a bucket. So where does that money go for those students that choose not to enroll in college?
And thank you for both those questions, Representative Clark. First off, the 13% that may not be in college today have an opportunity to go to college. The ability to enroll is 2 years after high school graduation. We also have some students that have enrolled or gone into the military, and the scholarship remains for them when they finish their service to be able to utilize after they leave military service. And on your second question, if a student applies and receives, acceptance to a college, but does not utilize all $10,000 of the scholarship for whatever reason, again, that money stays in the trust to be able to be used to award to another student.
Thank you.
Representative Bernal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the excellent presentation. My proudest moment, Clayton County, I've gone to several of the REACH programs, but my proudest moment was the other day, and I don't really look at Facebook a lot, but I had a student, and her daughter is in REACH now. So you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that feedback. Each student that we meet is more heartwarming and encouraging than the next.
Chairman Carpenter.
Chairman. The pie in the sky. What's the, you talk about big dreams and wanting to grow the program. What is if today was your day and I gave you one great wish to be granted, what is 2030 goals? What's the dream?
Chairman Dixley's looking at me very nervously. $3 billion is the number. We have roughly 30,000 eighth graders a year that we think qualify for REACH.
Okay.
And we're servicing 700 a year. It's a massive gap. So think about what you're leaving on the table by not having academic
and then
mentoring. There's a large gap between where you are now and where we want to be.
Sure. And then one follow. What's the private funds? What percentage? What are you raising outside of public funds? What's that dollar amount?
A really small amount. So
Yeah.
if I think about where our journey is with REACH, we've been on kind of a 2-year journey to kind of reconstitute, reform, get the board in a good place, get the dream, the strategy together to go out to corporate. And so just in the last year, we raised almost $5 million from private funding, which I think is the largest that we've done since its inception.
Yeah, I mean, it sells. I mean, success sells, and I think the program speaks for itself and is successful, and I look forward to continuing these conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Carpenter. Yeah, I think what the gentleman said there, I mean, there's more need in the educational field than the state just simply has resources for, and that's why priorities are important. Representative Glaze.
I want to say thank you for just a robust presentation. A couple of questions. One, I didn't see much of any data on the discipline. I do know that the requirement is just that they can't have more than 2 infractions as they go into the program. Kind of tell me more about the disciplinary information or data that you guys have collected on these REACH students.
Thank you for that question. I'll be happy to share with the chairman to distribute to you the SREB's report. They did look at some of the reasons for why students did not continue and persist in the program in high school. I do not have that with me today, but we'll make sure that you get copies of that.
So my question was going more towards those maybe who came in the program with infractions and have been able to be one of the students that graduated 100%. And have gone on to do have more opportunities and possibilities. I worked with REACH in Fulton County for 4 years. I've put more kids in military academies. I started with them in 7th grade. I can't get them in the military academies unless I start right after 7th grade. So I know how important and impactful this program is. The mentorship is the basic necessity for 71% of students who are from diverse backgrounds who may be in one-parent-led households with incomes that are under $30,000 a year. I am saying to us as a state that it's important that we make sure we cast a big enough net in this state so all Georgians have an opportunity for the best possibilities and to grow this state. Thank you for a great program.
Thank you for being a REACH champion, Representative.
Thank you, Representative. Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to my friend, and this is more of a comment. REACH is a great program. I want to make sure that my understanding of it is correct because I want to make sure we meet expectations of this program. My mother-in-law, a retired principal, was a REACH coach. And this program is about a partnership at our local level, local and, the incentive to reach students who are on the bubble or on the, they're on the fence. They could go either way. Okay? It's not for those that are at the very bottom and it's not for those at the top. It's for those students to make sure that they have got an opportunity and they're coached. It's a very rigorous program, or at least it was with my mother-in-law, the retired principal. It's a very rigorous program that makes sure that we give these folks a chance and that they are coached through. It is hard work. It is a serious program, and its results are very effective. And I would say that the rate of students who end up, what was the percentage? 80-something%. Those folks could have went either way. They could have been not graduating, not going on to further education, not doing well in society, or they could have. And this program is a prime example of what the local partnership along with the state can do. And its success is just, it's unbelievable. But we need to make sure it's there. It's a hard program, and if it's done right, those coaches are helping these kids make sure they make good decisions, academic decisions, and that they are put through a rigorous program so that they are ready and they want to get up and make that next step in higher education. Thank you for what you're doing. A great program.
Thank you for being a champion.
Thank you, Chairman Knight. We have two more. Representative Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, I've learned so much about this program here today. I'm not that familiar with it, but I do like what the results of the program is doing. One of the things that I'm concerned about is I was looking at your map and where the programs are located. Are you thinking of expanding any of the programs into the southern part, the coastal area of Georgia, or down around some of the lower part where you're getting closer to the Florida area as well, so that we can see that same kind of outreach coming into the southern part of the state?
Thank
First
you, Representative. We are in all 180 school districts. It's in every county school system. It's in every city school district system.
Okay, then can you tell me why, or, on the map, it's all in black and white. Why are they just located? I assume that maybe they were located just in those areas mainly.
Apologies, that map is only for the very first year when they printed it out.
Oh,
My video
okay.
showed the growth over the 10 years of the project, and
Okay.
after 10 years, we've got all 180 in.
All right, thank you. That map should be removed.
We'll make sure we...
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Dickey, I'm going to let you wind us up. You're between us and the senators.
Chairman, that's what I want to do, and I appreciate your commitment to having President Riley here and Michael Patrick of the board, and it has been a passion of mine, this program, and I certainly am heartwarmed about all the support and positive comments today about this program, but it does have some challenges going forward, and I just want this committee to know, and I hope I'll be calling on some of y'all after between now and next session for support, if it so wishes, to try to make a few positive adjustments and hopefully some expansion of this program going forward. But thank you, Mr. Chairman Martin, and Chairman Knight and everyone on this committee for this program. It's vital. It's workforce for our state, and it's got so many positives in it that I hope we can just keep it strong and keep it growing.
Yes, sir. I think the best way to get bicameral support for that is to wind this up here and get to our senators. I say that, and it's a serious subject, but clearly, President Riley, and thank you for coming as well. There's interest, further interest in this, and I know there's a cost that goes along with it, and it's been funded to this, but I mean, it's something that I think we have an interest, and that's easy for me to. I say in jest to the gentleman two over to the left of me that we as a committee can have wants and write checks that then Chairman David Knight has to work with Chairman Hatchett to find the dollars to pay for. So we have to watch every dollar. So thank you, President Riley. If you have anything to finish us out with, otherwise we're going to get on to our Senate bills. I know you have a place to be over in the Senate.
Thank you very much.
You might remind the Right Honorable Chairman over there that we have some good bills that this committee sent over there, not the least of which was 249 and 319, and I think Chairman Dickey had one. And so I know I'm joking, but give him our best, and we'll come see him soon.
Certainly will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you, Senator Brass. If you're ready, we'll let you come up, and since you may be here a while, we're going to let you sit down. No. Yeah, yes, sir. Please, and please sit at the table.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, let me just sound the 1 year half so we make sure we're working off the same thing. We're looking at your Senate Bill 86 on our documents. It's SB 86 CSFA. Is that what you have?
I don't even have a copy with me, so whatever you're looking at, it's what you're looking at.
Yes, sir. Well, that's what you sent us.
Thank you. It's a good bill. Great bill.
That all the gentleman has for us today?
No. Well, first off, I brought up Mark Whitlock. He's our president and CEO of our local college and career academy, the Central Education Center in Noonan. I refer to Mark as the grandfather of college and career academies, whether that's true or not. Well, today it is. So. But no, he's just a real leader in bringing business and education together, and has been a really big supporter of dual enrollment, and that's really what we're trying to do here in the dual enrollment program. Y'all remember in SB 2 we passed a few years ago. One thing we did was there's a 30-hour requirement before these students can start to access their Hope Career Grant funding. And so really what we're trying to do here is remove that 30-hour requirement and allow these students to go ahead and access that funding essentially before their senior year. And the idea here is to allow them to start to pursue either an associate's degree or get accreditation in whatever field they're seeking, and do it quicker, because as we all know, we have a shortage in the workforce really across this state and across this nation, and we've got to start treating these high school kids as part of the workforce, which is, I think, dual enrollment is a big part of that, and we're simply we want to accelerate their learning and also accelerate their credentialing and just really their ability to join the workforce. And that's really the overall attempt here of SB 86. I've got an accompanying study committee, SR 175. Somehow that went to a different committee. But it essentially is going to be studying dual enrollment, studying this program, making sure that it is sustainable, and making sure we've got a great program for our kids moving forward. So with that, I'll be more than happy to answer some questions, and I'll yield all the ones I don't know to my good friend Mark Whitlock here.
Sure. I just have one question. We don't have any on the board yet. This will usually get you some if I take a moment and ask one. One of the things that that I think we want to acknowledge today is this actually allows people to get at their HOPE grant money at an earlier time, which would, click off hours, if you will, that they would have available later. So, Mark, do you feel good about students doing this? We heard it a lot before on the REACH. You feel good about the guidance they get from their counselors and advisors that this will be good use of their time, and the kids will go in, if you will, buyer beware, and they'll know what they're doing.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Yes, absolutely. We are working with these students, and employers are working with these students to help them understand what are the great careers locally that we can't get to unless these students can access HOPE grant as early as the 10th grade. We're not changing any caps, still only 30 hours of dual enrollment, no change in the HOPE caps. But what we're asking is that in the 10th grade, rather than wait till after they've exhausted their dual enrollment, which they need to keep for the academic core in their college program, we're asking if they can get to those technical courses so they can gain the credentials employers want. We've got, Mr. Chairman, 2 models that are spreading across the state, one in healthcare, one in manufacturing. And those models really require that students have technical credentials first. We can't allow them also to move toward the associate degree if we don't open up HOPE grant prior to the dual enrollment dollars.
Well, thank you. You answered my question. Just to they know where they're headed. Representative Glaze.
Thank you so much for bringing this program. Mr. Whitlock, can you help me understand the opportunities and possibilities for students who are dual enrollment, maybe say going into nursing, how then the CTAE HOPE grant would help facilitate that at a faster rate and even give them a better foundation?
Representative Glaze, thank you for the question. In the healthcare model that we're working on, and that's already in more than 10 sites, our hospitals are asking that students bring the CNA with them. The CNA in the 11th grade allows them to get to an internship in the 12th grade. But if we can't access the HOPE grant before the dual enrollment dollars, then they can't get that credential while they're also working on the academic core, getting ready for the associate degree. We can get them to an associate degree RN a year and a half or so earlier if SB 86 can be put into place. This will help our hospitals.
So the follow-up question then is the possibility of getting our students to the marketplace in nursing at a quicker pace if we're able to start them earlier. I just have one more question, if that's okay with our leader, with our chair. Okay, thank you, sir. I don't want to take up all the time. We have a new plant, EV battery plant coming to Newnan, where your program is currently housed. Tell me a little bit about how we could utilize the HOPE grant and the dual enrollment to get those median income and high income jobs that will be coming to Newnan in the near future, about a year from now.
Thank you, Representative Glaze. Frayer, $3.5 billion investment in our community, 5th largest economic development project in the history of our state. Frayer has already talked with us about the apprenticeship program that we've been able to put into place, asking for the idea that students could get the technical credentials earlier while also working on their associate degree in high school. Average wage at Frayer, over 743 jobs, is over $60,000 each.
And is the current wage now about $41,000 for the average Georgian?
For average manufacturing, specifically in Coweta County, the average wage is $21 an hour, which is going to be about $42,000 or so a year.
So we're talking about a $20,000 difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dr. Clark. Is that you? Or Representative Bernal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an excellent program. I just have a one or two questions. Are we also looking at all the other high demand jobs that
Yes, ma'am, and this gives us the opportunity to look at even more models. We've focused first on healthcare and manufacturing. Those seem to be spread across our state and seem to be large employing industries across our state. Yes, ma'am, there are other areas that we need to look at, and this will help us do that.
And then the second question, because I can remember, this is my own story. When I graduated from college, I had majored in journalism, and there weren't any jobs, and my mother told me I will teach. And so she took me down there, and that's how I became a teacher. But I say that because it is very important that you involve that parent when you're talking to that child, and you explain that to them so they can make it plain to that child of why it's important for them to take up this opportunity.
I'm glad you made that point. Specifically in the manufacturing program in Coweta, we bring parents and students into the manufacturing facility so they can both tour and understand what the opportunities are that exist.
Okay, and I worked at Chrysler on the assembly line. So it's okay, their hands will get dirty, but they'll make good money.
Representative Patty Bentley. Representative Bentley.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator, for this bill. Dooley County is in my district, and they just been awarded a college and career academy. So without this legislation, what would that mean for a new college and career academy in rural Georgia, Dooley County?
It would mean, Representative, that the students there couldn't gain the technical credentials and have an opportunity to gain the associate degree or move toward gaining the associate degree while they're in high school. They wouldn't have enough time to do so.
Gotcha. So we really need this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. And I know we've discussed it a little bit. I want to make sure I'm understanding, and this is a question that I think refers back to a comment that Chairman Martin made. You know, we're looking at a lot of legislation across the board that is, again, it takes resources. So I guess my primary question to make sure I'm understanding it, reassurance, is that this is not costing anything, and that what we're doing, and again, making sure I understand this, is that you're allowing for the HOPE grant prior to dual enrollment. And I think if we spoke correctly, it's because a lot of students can't get into or get into the hands-on sort of training in whatever field it is. I think one of the ones we were talking about was nursing, right? And that they're hesitant to use their dual enrollment towards that because those are core curriculum, such that if they continue to proceed and pursue higher degrees, that's where that needs to come in to pay for or to be allocated the dual enrollment towards those core.
Well, I can give you the simplified political answer, and then I'll let Mark give you the more technical answer. But Mark did touch on this earlier that there are caps within dual enrollment. There are caps within the HOPE career grants, and we're not touching any of those caps. So once those kids hit those caps, that funding, that stops. And so those are in place. They stay in place. This doesn't touch it. Could we potentially see a little tick up in the total program being utilized? Absolutely. But that's, if you've got a good program, that's what I want to see. And I hope you do as well, because y'all, Griffin actually takes part in Georgia CAT. Y'all have got a few manufacturers over there that do take place in it. And so, again, it's a way that we can encourage more students to get involved because they're not having to pick one way or the other. They can essentially do both, still making that money, but still those caps still stay in place. So.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. For the manufacturing model specifically, we've got 29 hours of technical coursework that needs to be completed so that the
Hang on just a second
manufacturers...
for me. If we're going to watch a ball game, let's all watch it together. I'm going to go with Speaker Burns. We've got a place outside you can watch that now. Please, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, sir. There are 29 hours of technical coursework that the employers have asked be completed so that those so that those students can train in the manufacturing facility. That leaves 1 hour to use toward the academic core. So if we've got this SB 86 in place, while we're not breaking any caps, any fiscal discipline, what we're doing is we're giving students a chance to gain those technical credentials so they can go ahead and start work with the manufacturer. They can start in internships and apprenticeships and still work toward the academic core that they're going to need.
Thank you. I think it's a great explanation. This is, again, same caps. That you were just making it more usable. I mean, you're removing arbitrary and artificial constraints, and the senator has put a check on it to look back in a couple of years here and get a report and make sure it's doing what we thought. Number 17, the minority whip, Representative Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought that could have been done either which way before. I thought dual enrollment could have otherwise been used to obtain an associate's degree, and so I appreciate the clarification and the flexibility this bill provides for a common sense solution to address workforce needs. And so, Mr. Chairman, tomorrow, I suppose, at the appropriate time, looking forward to voting yes and moving this bill out of committee.
Glad to hear it. We're back now. Dr. Clark, last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for this bill to my friend, Senator Brass. Just out of curiosity, I'm a 10th grade student. Not right, really, but if I am a 10th grade student and I want to take advantage of this, what exactly would my academic schedule look like? Like, how much time am I spending at high school? How much time am I in college?
Yes, ma'am. If you're, again, I'll speak to the manufacturing specifically. If you're a high school student in the 10th grade, you will spend 3/4 of your day in technical college, technical coursework, starting in the 10th grade. That helps you finish the technical coursework so that you can spend a significant amount of time with the manufacturer, starting specifically in the 11th grade and then even more in the 12th grade.
Thank you.
Senator Brass, that is all the questions we have. Do we have any folks that wanted to speak to?
Oh, I could have given you that. Sorry.
And but before we go to our speakers, Senator Parrott, I know you had a section too. Did you want to speak? Well, why don't you, while we're coming around here, I'll give you a second from the podium, and she can speak to the section 2, I think, while we get to there.
Chairman Martin,
yes.
There we go. Yes, I've been working with Chairman Brass on this particular piece of legislation, and Section 2 deals with data collection for the dual enrollment program. And briefly, the idea for this portion of the bill arose from an audit that was done before I think it was 2020, either 2019 or 2020, passed some reforms on what we're going to be qualifying credits for the dual enrollment program. The audit recommended that we have comprehensive data collection as part of this program. We spend $80 million or more on the dual enrollment program annually. It is something we're making a significant investment in. We have a variety of aims for this program, which include skill acquisition, college completion at a reduced cost, right, for families, for students, and for taxpayers. Economic development. You know, I was listening with interest to Commissioner Riley's REACH presentation. We do have workforce shortages in it, and they are projected to increase. Skill acquisition, making sure the workforce is appropriately skilled for the jobs of today. These are all some of the very important aims of the dual enrollment program. So it behooves us as the appropriating body to have the data, comprehensive data, behind what are our results from our $80 million investment, and how can we ensure that the results are meeting those aims, several of which, you know, I just elaborated on. This is not to suggest that we have no data on who is using the program and what their outcomes are, but we do not have comprehensive data, and it is not housed in one agency. So I've had the bill for a few years now, and I've worked with the Georgia Student Finance Commission, which was recommended by Governor Kemp a few years back as the appropriate agency to house and analyze the data. But data needs to be fed to them from all agencies involved in the process, from Department of Education to Technical College System of Georgia and to University System of Georgia. Happy to answer any questions about that. It is a data collection and analysis bill so that we can make the best investments for the taxpayers.
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, and this is section 2 of the bill, so we'll be moving on that. No, it's just section 2 of the bill on page 3. And this is question. I think are there questions? Number 9, who do we have? Is it Representative Kelly?
Just a quick question. Was this a separate Senate bill?
Yeah, it was, but we presented the same day, and we sort of linked up.
Okay. So
yeah, they both came out of our higher ed committee in the Senate, and then the rules chairman may speak to that.
It was a beautiful wedding.
But did it actually? Did your separate bill pass on the Senate floor or no?
No. We took it off the rules consideration calendar because it had already passed on SB 86.
We did.
Does
it
that make
through
sense?
A floor amendment, if I remember correctly.
We did it. Yes, we did it as a floor amendment,
and
then
signed the floor amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Thank you.
We spoke before, and it was a lot of. It was some duplication because I have a reporting piece in SB 86 as well. Again, our reporting is going to be more specific to what we're trying to do. Hers is a broader reporting around dual enrollment, and so at the end of the day, for sake of time, we decided to marry the two and move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Quick question. I don't know if anybody from Technical College is here, but obviously this is a partnership with the Technical College. So are these programs already out there? What kind of burden are we, and I say this respectfully because I think we've got to make sure that everything's lined up to be successful here.
So I'll speak specific to our data collection, and I'll talk more about the evolution of the bill. Originally, we were getting all our data from student finance. That was how we were putting it in the bill. And then we found out that they didn't have all the data points we were looking for. And then found out that TCSG did. And so our bill evolved to getting the data from both GSFC and from TCSG.
Yeah. And thank you, Senator Brass, for that. But my question is specifically on these programs, manufacturing, nursing. From a technical college perspective, in other words, this is a partnership, right? We're ready for that on the technical college side. I don't want to, this seems to be a very, very well thought out proposition. And quite frankly, can get
Sure. Yeah,
folks
sure.
earlier there. So I want to make sure that these programs are either in existence, or if they're not, where are we with these programs?
Can we'll let Mark, yes, sir, tell us who you are and why you're here.
Yeah, we appreciate that a little bit. Sorry. We do appreciate that. We appreciate the bill being brought forward. The answer is twofold.
And
One,
you, just for those that don't know you.
that's right. Mark Peavy, TCSG.
Thank you.
We appreciate it because the answer is twofold. One, the programs that Mr. Whitlock is already talking about, manufacturing, CNA, a couple of others are already there, and so this allows those to move forward the way that they want them to. The piece that we're also as excited about, which is the study committee piece, will be for those new industries that now understand this is the option, an option for them in terms of how they want to sequence courses, and we think there'll be some more opportunities come along, and that's why we appreciate the fact that the study committee is going to help us sort through that. But this really is designed to be from the ground up, industry driven. Here's the need. This option allows the sequencing of dual enrollment courses and the use of existing dual enrollment opportunities to be able to meet those needs. So we welcome both of these, if that answers your question. So.
Let me be more succinct and direct.
Okay.
We want this to succeed, and I know from a technical college perspective, we've had comments, I've made specific comments about the technical college having the resources to be successful in programs exactly like we're talking about, that look at workforce development needs, skilled, labor needs. And so my question is, from a point of view of going, not necessarily with this bill, but it leads into my concern of, are we ready for that, or is this something that we need to look at on the resource side? This is going to put more demand on you to create more classes, more programs that from a funding perspective, I already think that we're behind the 8 ball on in regards to the technical college.
I think the answer to that is that most of these will probably be existing programs, so addition to our existing programs, and it's finding an opportunity for students at a sooner, faster, younger opportunity to get into those programs. So we may find ourselves with a study committee with an industry that has a new need that we haven't been able to look at yet. That is always a possibility. But I think the real answer is, in terms of the study committee and the existing work that's going on, is it gives students a chance to get into the programs that we already have to meet the needs of current industry sooner than they have in the past, and then gives them an opportunity to utilize the resources that the state already brings to the table in terms of dual enrollment dollars and HOPE dollars.
Thank you. Chairman Dickey.
Could y'all speak to the how these young students would fit into the workplace? I know my business, it is absolutely impossible for me to hire and put students younger than really 18 doing a lot of jobs in my facility. Wage and Hour, as well as OSHA, just has got some onerous regulations that how is that going to work?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our students, let me be specific about manufacturing. Our students, because that has been historically a difficult industry to get students into. Our students are in the state's work-based learning program. A state-approved work-based learning program is a prerequisite to deal with wage and hour, child labor, OSHA. So they can start at age 16. Yes. And we brought in USDOL specifically to look at this program, which the technical college system and Georgia Tech helped us to develop based on what manufacturers ask for. USDOL said, we like this so much, we're going to give the state of Georgia a waiver so that 15-year-olds who are a part of this program can be in the manufacturing facility. They can't do everything, but OSHA identifies, and Georgia Tech's Young Worker Safety Group works with individual manufacturers to show them what students can and can't do in the specific manufacturing facility. So we have had students as young as age 15 in manufacturing facilities.
Thank you. Thank you. Last question. Representative Glaze.
So I guess my question is just to understand the scope of our TSG system and the the state the university system, isn't our enrollment down? In except 6 universities, is our enrollment down?
Won't speak for USG. I believe I've heard the chancellor say something like that, but I won't speak for him. But across the technical college system, our enrollment has been down post-pandemic. We were down about 10% and then 3%, but as we're moving into fully moving out of that, this year our enrollment's probably going to be up about 3%, and we're looking to be a little bit stronger going into next year.
So I have
that's
a follow-up
what we see from
question.
the TCSG system.
Yeah, so it was down, starting 2020, it went downward, and we're trying to get it to level back up.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
the only reason I'm making that as an obvious statement is that as we move students into both, we are bringing up our student enrollment in both areas, in TSG and our regular university system, with having Hope dual enrollment and Hope grant. There's a possibility of bringing up the enrollment in both.
Yes, ma'am. If we have anything to do with it, we'll certainly bring the enrollment up on the TCSG
And that's
side,
exactly
so.
what this does. So
Yes,
it
ma'am.
definitely helps where we are now at a deficit and rising. But this bill helps to bring that up, and it meets that need. I just wanted to bring that to the
Yes,
floor.
ma'am.
Thank you.
I see no further questions. I think we got you covered, Senator Parrott, on your section.
Thank you,
So
Mr. Chairman.
I see no further questions. We'll go to speakers. Tim Kibler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Tim Kibler with the Georgia Alliance of Community Hospitals. As Mr. Whitlock has said, we feel like this is a measure that will greatly help us address our critical healthcare workforce shortage. This will help we believe will help get students who can pursue a career specifically in nursing, but in other areas of healthcare as well, on the path to that career much earlier, and have them show up prepared, more prepared than some show up today when they start their jobs. So we very much recommend it to the committee and urge you to favorably consider it at the appropriate time. I'll be glad to take any questions, Mr. Chairman. If there are.
Thank you. You have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. King, you're not signed up for this one, but I see you standing back there. Okay, I saw you moving around back there. We didn't want to go past you.
I'd like to speak to the bill, though, please.
Come ahead.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. My name is D.A. King. I am the voice of immigration enforcement on this campus, for better or worse. I do not come with a comment on the bill, but otherwise to ask that this committee clarify something. It looks to me on the first several lines of the bill that if someone is in the dual enrollment program, were this bill to become law, they would automatically qualify for the Hope Scholarship. And I have only perused it on my iPhone in the back, so I could be wrong. But I hope that is clarified with all the authorities we have in the room. The problem can arise that if you have a student in the country illegally in violation of our immigration laws that is in our public school system, which is required by federal law, is this bill going to provide the Hope Scholarship, whether or not that illegal immigration status is cured? Again, I don't know the answer to that question. It's also occurred to me, some email exchanges while this hearing was going on. I have been told two different things today, that people in dual enrollment are automatically eligible for, people regardless of their immigration status are now participating in the dual enrollment program. I hope that is not true. We were assured otherwise when dual enrollment was passed. So I'll leave and come back in a minute for a different bill, Mr. Chairman. I was only hopeful that with all these people collected, those questions could be answered. Thank you.
I'll take that under advisement. It's my understanding that in the HOPE, the definition of HOPE funding is that there is reference made to that, but we'll double check that with the attorney. Fair enough.
Thank you, sir.
I have no further questions for the gentleman. We do need to make a slight altercation. Alteration. We're not going to have any altercations, but we need to make a slight alteration in Section 2 of the bill. So I've spoken to the senator about that, and we can get that done. And this will be an item we'll bring back in the morning, Senator. And if you're able to join us, we're over, I think we're going to be 403 of the Capitol. If you're not able to join us, we'll get you the language and make sure. Also, Senator Parrott, since it's in her area, and we'll move forward on that. if there's nothing, and I didn't ask you if you had to close, you appear to have a measure that is enjoying grand support. I didn't know if you wanted to do anything to slow that down, or you were good with where you were at.
No, I think less is better once you make the sale.
They tell me that's the case. Thank you very much, Senator. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you having
So
me.
we'll take this under advisement and for future. Going on, because I see the senator there, 246, Senator Hodges. Senator, we have House Bill 246, LC 3394445. I don't know why you didn't get a cool SB 86 CSFA number like Senator Brass did, but we're happy to have you here to present your proposition as well.
Mr. Chairman, that's because I'm not the chairman of the Rules Committee. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. My name is Mike Hodges. I am a freshman senator, and this is my first time before your committee, and I wanted you to know that I am honored to be here. I have with me Mr. Chet Basine, who is...
That's why Chairman Burns is waving mightily about you going before him. I don't know. No, please go ahead, Senator.
Okay. I have with me Chet Basine. Chet is the executive director of the Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce, which... is part of DCH. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, you've heard everybody who's been in front of you today has talked about workforce development and the need for workers now and in the future, and I'm here for the same reason. I bring you Senate Bill 246. It is a governor's priority bill, and the reason for it, Mr. Chairman and members, is that we have a shortage of nurses in Georgia. We have a shortage of a lot of workers, but this bill addresses a nursing shortage. We have such a nursing shortage, I can tell you that in my home, I live on St. Simon's Island, and in Brunswick, I'm on the board of our health system there. We have two hospitals. We have a 300-bed hospital in Brunswick. We have a 40-bed hospital in St. Mary's, and in the last couple of years, 50% of our nursing base, 50%, up to 50%, has been rental nurses, so-called floaters. We can't get and keep nurses. And one of the reasons for the nursing shortage is that there is a lack of nursing instructors. Nurses can make more money, as you might imagine, particularly traveling nurses can make more money nursing than they make teaching. So what this bill does is it tries to incentivize nurses to continue to teach rather than to practice. And it does that by establishing a student loan repayment plan for student debt of nurses who agree to teach. As I mentioned, the Georgia Board of Healthcare Workforce, which is a part of Department of Community Health, would administer the program rather, and set up the rules and regulations for this bill. What this bill would do would apply to nursing teachers. First of all, they have to be a resident of the state of Georgia. Secondly, they have to be a registered and duly licensed nurse. And then they must hold at least a master's or a doctorate degree, which would put them in a teaching position. And then finally, they have to be currently employed for at least a year as a teacher, so they're currently teaching. And this bill basically tries to sort of stem the flight of nursing instructors so that we can turn out more nurses, more, excuse me, pardon the pollen in my head, but more classes of nurses. So what this bill does is it, if somebody qualifies under the conditions that I mentioned, then this program would allow the repayment of student debt of up to $100,000 over a 5-year period at annual installments. And by the way, there's a $1,050,000 line item in the current budget to fund this program this year. This program would be funded annually at the will of the legislature. So we could do this program for a year. We can take a look at it. If we feel there's a better way to go about this purpose, we can change it. If we feel like it's going gangbusters, we can add to it. Some very quick back of the envelope math for the $1,050,000 would be at max $20,000. Oh, by the way, it certainly wouldn't pay back any more debt than exists per individual. So the maximum would be $20,000. So you could get about 52 teachers to continue to teach out of this program. And my colleague Chet tells me that the typical nursing cohort size, the class size, if you will, is about 20 nurses. So that's 1,000 nurses a year that could positively impact our healthcare system in Georgia.
Senator, if I
Sure,
can I add, just in the interest of time, we have two
Yeah.
more
I'm
propositions.
through, by the way. I
was just going, and I want to go this. I don't want to take any. This is very important, but just if I can to just draw the committee's attention, this is modeled much after the medical examiners legislation that we have seen earlier,
Exactly.
but targeted to get nursing teachers. And Senator, it's a very important proposition, as you said, as the governor's priority.
And
I was just trying to help wind it through for you.
So you'll know I'm carrying that medical.
And you know, for your colleagues that we want to get to as well.
And
So-
I'll let you know that I'm carrying that medical examiner's bill in the Senate.
Well, so the senator. So if you would like, you know, I mean, no disrespect with that, Senator. I'm just trying to get to your colleagues as well.
I'm like Chairman
and then
Brown.
we'll go to go to questions, and then we'll let you expound if we think we're anybody. Did you want to add something quickly to?
No, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for having me. Senator Hodges did a great job. I'll just add a couple other statistics for y'all's knowledge. There are a variety of reports out there that in the state of Georgia, we have, on the low end, I've seen, from what I've read, about 20,000 nurse vacancies in this state, and some reports have now reported it up almost closer to 40,000. Part of it is the current vacancies, so the travelers that Senator Hodges mentioned moments ago. And part of the number is also being factored with the pending retirements. Over half the nurses working today are aged 50 or older. It is a very challenging job, both mentally and physically. So just kind of taking the long view, this would definitely assist in getting us back to being right-sized for our nursing workforce.
Is it not true that due to the demand in nursing, one could actually make more money practicing in the field than one could make teaching? And what we're trying to do is make it advantageous to draw the people in the field. You have a couple of questions, and again, Senator, if you need to reel us back in and win friends to move forward, I'm going to go back to you on that. But I think you probably have some friendly questions here. Representative Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, thank you for being with us, and we appreciate all the governor has done in both healthcare and improving our workforce in our state. He's doing a great job, and it's certainly appreciated, and this certainly looks to continue that effort. My question centers around, you mentioned that you live on St. Simons, and we have a really good friend of the house who's not here with us anymore, and did you know it was his birthday today? And you know who I'm talking about?
Representative Hogan?
It sure is.
Well, he's 29 today.
Well, have you called and wished him a happy birthday yet?
No, but just when I get out of here, I will.
All right, I think I can.
Know.
I'm looking forward to that. Good bill, Senator.
Thank you.
Representative Eric Hart.
Thank
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this bill. I did also want to say I appreciate the effort here in the student. I'm a big fan of the student loan forgiveness programs for in a number of industries, quite frankly, and also because it puts us in a position to compete with the private industry who practice this all the time in an effort to recruit good talent. I know that from the teaching perspective, I remember at one time hearing, this was few years back, that KSU was only able to admit maybe 1 in 10 nursing applicants, not because of lack of interest, not even because of lack of facilities, but purely because of lack of professors in the field, which is tragic, given the need in the state. I also know that some of the smaller hospital systems are having to compete with the bigger ones. I am the parent of an ER trauma nurse who did receive some student loan forgiveness through Wellstar. So see, these larger hospital.
Earhart, there's a question in there, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, there is. Yes, and so it was really more of a comment. I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate the effort. I think it's a good bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator's that. Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the nursing faculty. Oh, and first, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for bringing the bill. The nursing faculty that will be eligible for these student loans, are they full-time professors? Are they teaching a class, 2 classes? Like, what is the FTE that we're requiring of these faculty?
My understanding is that they're full-time teachers.
Okay. Can I ask
again, the rules and regulations will be populated by Mr. Bassine's agency.
All right, so can I ask a follow-up? That is great, and I love that. Is there a concern, though, that we're taking nurses out of the clinic and out of the hospital and moving them into the classroom, and that by making it full-time, these might be nurses that we could have at the hospital that are now not there?
Well, that Representative, that's a very good question. I believe the way the bill's written is you have to be teaching it presently. This will not bring nurses out of the hospital and into the college, if you will, but it'll keep those who are teaching in the school, in the college, teaching rather than going to the hospital to practice, and thereby, I mean, that may cost some nursing positions, but in the long run, we think it'll add to it because they'll turn out more nurses.
All right, so just one quick follow-up, Mr. Chairman. So you already have to be a teacher. So I thought this was to get more teachers. This is not to get more, it's just to retain.
To be clear, you will have had to been a teacher for a year. So you don't get it for a year, but it would be for teachers that are in teaching and have been doing so for a year, or ones that would join in April 2023. They would be available and eligible in April 2024.
Right. Okay. So then my concern.
It's a bit of both, but yes.
So my concern is a nurse that's in the clinic might say, "Oh, I can go get my student loans repaid if I leave the clinic, go into the classroom and teach."
I understand the lady's problem. I think I would honestly say we would be blessed with that if that were the case. I'm afraid this may not even be enough to move nurses that are practicing and don't feel led to teach, because I'm not sure even the loan repayment would make up for the salary that they could make on the floor, if you will, practice on the floor. But I see the lady's concern.
Thank you.
But we have 2 more questions, and I want to raise this, and then we'll go to those. Chairman Knight, I will give him credit for bringing this to the chair. I'm going to ask you if you would, by rule and reg, on the recipient, you say you would applied for and approved by the thing. I think we want this to be a teacher in the technical college system of Georgia or the university system. We're not interested in rewarding those to go for private colleges, proprietary or non-proprietary. I think we probably want to articulate that in the language of the bill, that the recipient would have to work for TCSG. I'll leave that for the senator to think about while we take additional questions, but I think that would probably be what we would be looking for. Number 20, number 5. Representative Bentley, did you have a question that go away? Yes, ma'am.
I think it may be answered already. I was just curious to know, Senator, thank you for your work on this legislation, but I was, Fort Valley State University is getting ready to start a new nursing degree program, and I was just trying to think about how this bill will impact Fort Valley State University. And also I want you to know that you say you're going to be carrying the bill for medical examiners. I look forward to that piece of legislation passing in the House of in the State Senate. Yeah, but if that's what I was just wondering, how is this going to impact a new program that's getting ready to start at Fort Valley State University?
Thank you, Representative Bentley. It's a great question. My initial response to you is, if this is a new school, if I heard you correct, the bill, the way it reads right now, doesn't say that if the instructor was coming from additional school, a previous school, and coming over, they would be able to show that they were teaching for the past year.
Gotcha.
If it's someone who newly decided to, say, leave clinical practice and then wants to teach, then the way it's written right now, that person would unfortunately not qualify.
To follow, to be clear, they would qualify in a year.
In a year, yes.
So they would have to be there a year, but they could qualify in the future. They just would not qualify immediately.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm concerned too about taking someone out of nursing per se as the worker and teaching. My understanding would be that even though they are still a nurse, they are qualified. If they're qualified, they could also teach, because we have a tremendous loss already of nursing in the area. And it seems as if a nurse that is certified to teach could do both based on a schedule.
Let me just ask the attorney before. I don't think there's anything in the bill that prohibits them from doing anything else. It's just the gentleman, but if we're going to make this kind of investment at the tune of $20,000 a year up to $100,000, you want that for teaching more than one class. So I think, again, that's a bit of a rules and regs things, but you wouldn't prohibit someone from other income as long as they could provide the services that made it worthwhile to participate in the program. Fair enough.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. So if, let's just say a certain individual wants to teach nursing Monday to Friday, let's just call it for the sake of this conversation, they can go ahead and do that, apply for this, earn these dollars that we're talking about in this bill. And then on the weekends, when many hospitals have staffing issues, decide that they want to work a floor job there. And as long as it's really their choice and the policies they're governed by their employers, we don't have any business in restricting dollars for an individual like that.
Thank you.
Senator, I don't see any. Yes, sir.
I was just going to point out on line 33.
Yes, sir.
The words "the board," and they'll set up a board, shall have the authority to approve the applications of eligible applicants submitted in accordance with the rules and regs established by the board governing the student loan repayment application process. And I think by that, the board could set up, if they wanted, requirements that that the nurse teacher would be in a state school, or they could set up, if they thought that the need is so great for nurses that it might be worth investing in nurses being taught at a private school. I mean, but I think the bill as it's written gives authority to.
I would agree with the senator. It gives them the authority. I think, and I'll talk with you. I don't know. We won't try to fix it right here, but I think if the university system and TSG didn't have a need, then I wouldn't be opposed per se to if there are classrooms available and they could do that going over there. But I wouldn't want our university system or TCSG to be competing with a private institution, proprietary or otherwise, for the services of a professor. If we had property, plant, and equipment in the university system to do the job, but I understand we'll get to that at the time. Tim, if you want to head on that while he's winding this up. Yes,
Can I just provide one additional information? So we at the board administer loan repayment for physicians right now, and in that we give priority, shall we say, to the primary care specialties. So maybe to this point with the TCSG, we would provide priority or preference to those from those institutions, to your point, and then if there should be residual funds, then look at other institutions. And we'd be glad to move forward in whatever way direction we're given.
Thank you very much. We're going to take testimony. I'll come back to you, Senator. Tim?
I am still Tim Kibler with the Georgia Alliance Community Hospital. Glad to be on the committee again today.
Yeah.
We very much support this legislation. Thank Senator Hodges for bringing it forward. It grew out of the Governor's Healthcare Workforce Commission that he appointed over the summer. Many of our hospital leaders were part of that commission, and we very much support this measure. I appreciate Dr. Clark's concern about us losing nurses. As I had said already, we are at a critical nursing shortage in Georgia. It is our feeling that this is an appropriate measure to try to grow our nursing workforce without the nursing faculty will be required to try to bring nurses in from outside the state of Georgia, and it is our feeling that that is going to be less likely to be successful than to try to grow homegrown nurses and keep them here. So we very much support this measure and would ask for your, again, favorable consideration at the appropriate time. I'd be glad to take any questions, Mr. Chairman, if there are any.
Thank you, and we're glad you're still Tim.
Thank you,
happy,
Mr. Chairman.
happy to be with us today. Senator, I'm going to let you wind us up here, and then we're going to put you in the same posture as we did Senator Rice. We'll talk to you and try to get you done in the morning.
I'll just let it go at that.
I think you got a good proposition here. We just want to work on that one point to make sure that we're comfortable with that. But any other questions, gentlemen? I think he's got a good proposition before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. We have two folks left. Y'all can race to the front or wrestle. Senator Burns, I feel like yours is going to be a little bit shorter than Senator. Okay, well, I'll let you wrestle with your caucus chairman, and you'll have to wrestle with your caucus chairman. I'll let that be on your own. Tell us about your proposition, and I'll give you an introduction here. We're familiar with what's going to happen if it happens, because we've seen this before. But tell us about the particular institution you're dealing with. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time. First of all, I'm a baseball fan. Okay, just make sure you know that. Second of all, the Braves don't open up until April the 6th, so we're not in baseball today. Today's bill is Senate Bill 137. It is an adjustment that would allow additional access to tuition equalization grants, TEG. I think the committee should be familiar with that. This is a program that's been around since 1971. It's not new to Georgia, and it's not new. It's designed as a grant to support a limited amount of the cost associated with higher education at the accredited and the accredited private sector space. I want you to understand that currently TEG is at about $900, down from $1,000. When it was started in 1971, $1,000, it was a good bit of money. Today, since 1988, the actual value of it is about $143. So TEG actually represents only about 4% or so, 4.1% of tuition and fees. So, and the other thing I want to make sure you understand is that TEG enrollment is down about third over the last decade, and that's primarily because enrollment is down, and so the demand is down. But if you look quickly at Senate Bill 137, LC 50-0488, I'll just quickly point to the changes made on lines 20, 21, 22, and then through the end of that first section. What this will allow is it will allow any accredited institution in Georgia that has been in existence for 10 years, since 2021, to be eligible to receive TEG grant resources. It's an academic institution. This is an institution that would be similar or comparable to any other accredited private university. I'm a strong university and education person, spending 30 years in the university system. Actually ran a program that included a college or school of nursing, so thank you for your support for those nursing education programs. But the reality is we need to enhance TEG to make a change that's now about a dozen years old. It will impact around 500 students at a cost of $900 per student, so you can run the math. And the reality is that the actual contribution in real dollars is very, very small. It does make these students HOPE eligible. However, they would have to qualify for HOPE independently of TEG. TEG is not a merit-based scholarship. It is a grant. Okay, I'm happy to answer any questions.
You have one, number one. Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pretty simple question. How many colleges would fall under these new guidelines?
The new guidelines would include any college that would be accredited by SACS, COC, and have full credentialing capacity. And indeed, the college that we're looking at here would open it up for an institution that would be available to students all the way up through the PhD level. So this is a comparable school. But right now, to my knowledge, there's only one additional institution that would qualify.
Just one, because just
and
follow.
again, about 500 students, 550 students.
And so, just to be clear, this is for South College. Is that the
South
college?
is the institution that would be qualified if they were eligible. And again, we make every other school eligible, including Mercer and Emory and Oglethorpe and
Which are already.
Spelman and a number of others.
So those are already
Absolutely,
eligible.
but
Yes.
again, there was a date put in of 2011, and the date is the key component here, Representative.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
To my friend, Senator, and I asked this question
Sure.
to the other senators too. Again, I think the question is the financial impact.
Certainly.
And I appreciate you talking about tuition equalization grant, but it is also about HOPE, the private HOPE, private Zelle. But it's also, if I'm not mistaken, it gives access to student access loans and dual enrollment. And so with that,
I'm not familiar. I don't know if
Yeah.
dual enrollment is correct, Mr. Chairman, but I agree with you on the HOPE.
Yeah.
And I would say that the students in this potential cohort, there would not be a significant impact on HOPE because they would have to qualify. You gotta realize most of these students are non-traditional adult learners who have come to this educational environment through a varied path. We've been talking about nursing. One of the key components of this program is to access the nursing program that's available. And I will tell you, again, I spent 30 years in the university system as president of State College. I had a nursing program. And even though I may admit a cohort of some number, the reality is I can't complete as many as I would hope to complete. And one of the things we have to do is find a path for the non-traditional learner to access quality education. But you're right. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Representative Glaze.
So, thank you for bringing the bill. I just want to know if you know the average cost per year for South College at this present time.
I do not, but I believe we've got a representative who could probably answer that.
Okay.
I would suggest that on a per credit hour basis, it is on par with other private institutions.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking that to compare the $900 impact to
very small. See,
and that's
the impact is very small, and perhaps we can have a discussion about the benefit of TEG, tuition equalization grants, and have that conversation. But the reality is that this is a very small component. Again, about 4% of the cost of education in a private institution in today's dollars.
Thank you.
And that, by the way, those statistics come from the Department of Audits and Accounts, who did a recent study in 2022 on tuition equalization grants. I'll be happy to share that information with you.
Okay, thank you, Senator. We had nobody signed up to speak here. All right, this is our first hearing on this, Senator. We'll get back with you. I know you're headed to another House committee.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now. This is the last shall be first. Senator Ada Vitarde. Senate Bill 112, SB 112/A. You have one of the cool numbers too, Senator. I don't know what happened. How does that work for us? Can you explain that? How some of them are just regular LCs and other ones are not?
Well, if we can, Mr. Chair, when we can get this bill out of committee, I'll give you a cool number with one of your House bills in the Senate. It's a pleasure to see you and everybody here today. I know we're kind of towards the end of time, but I do want to thank Representative Ron Stevens, Chairman Stevens, for joining me today on this important bill that impacts the coast, Middle Georgia, West Georgia, and I'm going to let him kind of open up with a few comments, and then I'm going to talk about the bill real quick.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you for. Some of you may know the impact of hope. And whenever you think about hope, you're thinking about the college scholarship that we offered. It's phenomenally successful. This bill has nothing to do with that. It's about hope in general. It's about those folks that have not received their high school diploma. They have no hope. This bill is about the 1.1 million Georgians. 1.1 million, you need to say it twice to even comprehend the number that don't have a high school diploma. In Savannah, there's 35,000 adults. In Macon, there's 37,000 adults. And in Columbus, which is these three cities, is what this pilot program would address. There's 46,000 adults. Ladies and gentlemen, this program is not brand new. You'll see a packet there and a little green sheet that gives you some information. The green states that you have listed there are the Excel programs that's in places like Texas. In fact, they're all listed there all around Georgia. So this is brand new. It's a public-private partnership to try to get these folks a high school diploma so that they do have hope. Again, nothing to do with our scholarship program. As you'll notice there, the number that sticks out to me is the estimated additional revenue, or I'll think about taxes, the estimated additional earnings that these people will get whenever they receive their high school diploma, and it's $340 million. And you can imagine do the math on what our tax revenue would be from that. It is substantial. Mr. Chairman, this bill has the opportunity to, since we're creating 37,000 new jobs in the area with 4 major projects outside the city of Atlanta, 85% of those jobs are going to, like I say, be outside the city of Atlanta. 17,000 new jobs in just one plant in Hyundai. As you'll notice, the big 3,000-acre clearing going along I-16, they got to come from somewhere. But they're going to require a high school education. Let me take one step back and tell you what the Goodwill Industries have done, and they're attached to this, if you will. The Goodwill Industries has taken those folks that did not have a high school diploma, and they're employing them now, which is why this bill fits with the next step to get their high school diploma. They have the wraparound services now in these areas for child care and other things to make sure that these folks have hope. They also have an opportunity, they believe, to move on, as they've done in other states, to finally get these folks without hope an opportunity to get a high school education and a high school diploma. It is the very least we can do for the least of these, ladies and gentlemen. And if we want to talk about hope, which is the other end, and I'm all for hope, as everyone knows, but we've got to give these folks, for whatever reason, that didn't get their high school diploma, the opportunity to do that. The mechanism is in place. This bill will do it. And I'll turn it back to the Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your support of getting this done. So I just have a few comments, I guess, about the bill and just kind of what it does. And some of y'all may have heard this last year. So this bill is different than last year. Goodwill offers these Excel centers in a dedicated community with on-site wrap services such as transportation assistance, life coaches, daycare, career counseling. Classes are offered year-round. All of this is provided at no cost to the student. The Excel centers remove the barriers and provide support necessary for the students. When SB 112 passed out of Senate Economic Development and on the Senate floor during the last session, this committee had a hearing
but no vote was held. Over the summer, we worked to approve it. I know, Mr. Chairman, you had some concerns. The Pro Tem had some concerns. And the previous draft of this was as a charter school. We came back after much discussion and work and research and revised the bill, so now it's under the Technical College System of Georgia. Goodwill will provide the education support services in their building, and TCSG will grant a Georgia high school diploma to the graduates. Since this is a public-private partnership, it is an opportunity to leverage state dollars to get the most bang for the buck. In addition to wrap services in the facility, Goodwill will also cover the administrative operations like HR, marketing, finance, audit, legal services, all the overhead that I think a lot of us worry about as we talk about taxpayer-funded programs. When fully operational, the Excel Center will accommodate around 300 students in a day and night classes, which are taught by on-site highly qualified teachers. It will provide a pipeline of qualified students who are prepared with the necessary skills to be successful at TCSG, apprenticeships, colleges, the military workforce, and as I've told the Commissioner's office, we're open to basically creating those pathways for those that get the high school diplomas straight into TCSG, to whether they want to get a CDL, their nursing certificate, whatever it is, for those high demand fields. Even cyber, as much as that's been discussed in the state capitol recently. The Senate included language to ensure that this program will not take any financial resources away from TCSG or any of its existing programs. While there is no appropriation request in the FY24 budget, it will be up to the legislature to appropriate funds for this pilot program once it becomes operational. A funding formula for the direct educational expenses will be developed working with TCSG, which includes clear deliverables and accountability, including a study, which that's written into the bill. And I would also offer here in my comments, Chairman Knight, to work with you to create a separate funding formula that you're comfortable with, to figure out, what is the best way path forward once the bill passes. So when we brought the bill to the Senate floor, we wrote a provision in it, so to make sure it's clear as day, clear as mud, that the current funding formula or funding that goes to TCSG or anything else doesn't take away from that, and that we would have to start from scratch. So I just want to, we made that gesture as we worked the bill through the Senate to get over here. In other states, this amount amounts to somewhere between $6,100 and $8,500 per seat. And while that amount seems to be yet to be determined in Georgia, it is anticipated that this will be less than QBE, less than the dropout and diploma recovery programs for persons that are under the age of 21, and it will be significantly less than Senate Bill 204's dual accreditation pilot program already underway at TCSG. The Excel Centers empower people to move off public assistance into jobs which pay a living wage in sectors of our workforce that are much needed, as Chairman Stevens talked about. We have jobs being created from Bartow County all the way down to the coast, and in some cases needing somewhere between 15 and 20,000 jobs for some of these sites. And I think if we don't go beyond our current means to do that, I would hate for us to start running into barriers for jobs wanting to come here, knowing the challenges we all have in each of our counties around workforce. Also, this program will change the life trajectory of children by significantly increasing the odds that they will graduate from a high school. SB 112 is a very important piece of workforce legislation and will enable more Georgians to take advantage of great jobs recently created by the state to attain their high school diploma, skill up, and get a better job to support their families. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions you have.
Yeah, a couple questions. Representative Glaze.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for bringing this program, and it is a robust program. So I live in South Fulton in Coweta County, and we do have a good number of students, I think, need to have a program and this opportunity. Talk about the opportunity that we have to not have these young people on in our penal system. When we go back and get students who are 22, 25 with no high school diplomas, no skill set, let's talk about how it really does impact our communities with crime. I understand JOB means less likely to commit crimes, less likely?
Yes, Representative. I mean, I think it's a great question. It's a great point. I'm a firm believer, and I think there's revenue data, financial data. If we studied the impact of individuals coming off of Medicaid, individuals empowering themselves to find a job, and I'm talking about work that's more than $15, $17 an hour. So it's $17 an hour. Sustainability of saving money to put food on the table, not receive TANF benefits or things, the buying power that creates for the local community, and then obviously the subsect of what that means, keeping somebody, a young man, men and women out of our local jails, or on the streets, or doing other knuckleheaded things. I think it's a big piece of our local neighborhoods and communities. And I've said before that I truly believe those in poverty, there are folks in poverty who want employment, they want a better way of life, and I think it's just having the installation of going to one of these three centers, whether it's in Savannah, Macon, or Columbus, as a pilot to demonstrate that those folks in that facility are trying to get them the high school diploma, but at the same time that if they need their kid taken care of so they can go to get that degree, that they're going to be able to afford transportation and get a job and be, contributing back to society.
One more question, if you don't mind.
Yes, Representative.
The public-private partnership allows for our industries to get involved. So this pilot, we could really say could be, in 5 years, we could just kind of broaden this to other sectors?
Yeah.
Is that what we'd like to do?
Yes, Representative. I think potentially yes. I mean, I think, one of the things we wrote into the bill is that they have to demonstrate results. And if they cannot, if Goodwill or whoever the organization is cannot demonstrate results, then the pilot should not be funded. It should not be considered. It should just go away like any other pilot that, maybe we would do in public or private sector. I think the other part of this is having an organization put money up front in terms of capital dollars to build these facilities in local communities. Regardless of whether you're a Republican like me or a Democrat, where I come from, I think having the private sector making an upfront investment into anything to save the taxpayer money, that's a win from wherever I come from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator, can you hear me? You have quite a few questions. I'm just informed that we have somebody behind us after this meeting. I thought they were meeting in a different room. Do you have people that have come in to testify about the bill?
They're here if there's questions, but they don't have.
But they don't have testimony.
Yes,
Okay,
Mr.
I just
Chairman.
wanted to make sure we got to them for testimony before we. So we do have some additional questions. So I want to go to those and ask let's try to stay as succinct as we can.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, well, I wasn't worried about you. I was worried about my fellow House members. Chairman Jasper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank y'all. Thank you for your good work on this and trying to improve it. But I guess my question goes back to a question I had last year: is does TCSG have a program currently that will assist 21 and year olders to get their GED or high school diploma, whichever program they're in?
So to your point, Mr. Chairman, whether you're freshly graduated from college or, I don't want to put an age on anybody in life, but if you're 65 and you want to go get a certificate to fix a truck, you can do that. I think the difference between this program that exists and then what doesn't exist in TCSG is to go into a facility and having all of the ready wrapped services in terms of daycare and transportation, and having the state not pay for that and having a private entity pay for that to ensure that that person is successful. And I think a lot of the folks that we're talking about from the 21 to 35, they could go to TCSG, but we've seen, and I'm a former foundation chair of the largest technical college in the state, they may enroll and start for a little while, but we see them basically drop out of school because of child care or transportation. So this would basically, I think, address that, keep them in school, get that degree. And I think it would improve overall our retention rates. but I think also it's an opportunity for TCSG. So, and one of the commitments I've made to everybody here in the legislature and the commissioner is, if we have, for example, 300 students in Savannah or Macon, and we know what their life goals are, because we are going to know because they're in one of these facilities as they're getting their high school degree, how do we tap that as an enrollment opportunity where we've seen enrollment down? How do we tap that to push them into TCSG once they have that high school diploma for that upskill training for whatever it is that we may need or want in those local communities? And I know whether you're in Columbus, Macon, or Savannah, you know, the priorities of each of those schools, the curriculum could be the same, but there could be a different dynamic.
Yeah, thank you. I guess it's further, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me like for the state of Georgia, and I know Chairman Knight, and I'm on that higher ed subcommittee also, it would be much more effective, and I guess we get better quality control by having TCSG even come to these. I guess my problem with it is not having TCSG integrally part of it, to make that link that you just described to their people. I think that's important because of effectiveness.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'm feel terrible here. I'm told
Yeah,
there's
I know
five
you're
bills
about
in
to
government affairs, and can I ask that we get with the senator and talk about that? 'Cause I think it's a valid concern about doing that, but get along with the question. Thank you, Representative Jackson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very excited about this program. I think when you look at young people across the state of Georgia, this will give them some hope. And I think with the agency like Goodwill, and you know what they do in the various communities all over the country, it opens a door where these young people already have some confidence in what they're doing. I think it's something, even though it will be a pilot program, I think it's something that can spread across Georgia. And when you talk about, as my colleague was saying here, you mentioned the wraparound program. Those when you can provide those kinds of services, the people will have a tendency to stick with it, to stay in there, to get what they need and come out and be able to be a citizen that is going to grow within our community, and they may decide to go on to receive a technical degree as well as a higher education degree. I am very high on higher education, and I think all of this coming together really is a pathway to get our young people that are older, they're too old for high school, to get them out there and to get them working.
I'm gonna
I
have
know
to,
you
I'm gonna enforce the same thing I did on my colleague, Representative Earhart. We need to questions. We'll have the gentleman back.
My question is, if we're able to get this through, how ready are you to get started?
These folks, I mean, we've been working on this for a couple of years, so these folks are ready to start tomorrow. And I think if it's just a matter of writing language in the bill to make it tighter between TCSG and the organization, I think that can be achieved. My hope is that this bill will get a vote, because I do believe that this bill, if it was on the House floor, would probably get north of 130 votes. In my chamber, it passed with I think only 3 negative votes, and I know my appropriations chairman and the higher education chairman, Chairman Martin's peer, is highly supportive of it, the chairman from Statesboro. So I think this is an awesome bill, and we need jobs, and I'm all about creating jobs at whatever it's going to take to do it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair Lady Dempsey.
Yeah, just real quick, because I know we're pushed for time. I won't say all the good things I wanted to about Goodwill, but
there's a question in there, Chair Lady Dempsey.
There is. I love the mission of this. I love the public-private partnership. I love exploring now that we might
Isn't
look
it
at
true?
the technical college system. Isn't it true? But also, here's what I want to ask. If there might be, since it sounds like it's going to be revisited a little bit, to look at possibly some caps on student expense per student, just to look at that, it'll help us. But also, one other thing would be that the money all goes into the services. Y'all know from the budget that you're under, that I work with, I've been privileged to work with you on. We want money in services, not buildings. So that would just be a question I would ask.
10-second answer is Goodwill is building all the buildings. They don't need, this is about funding for the teachers in the facility. And as I committed in my remarks, for this body, myself, whatever, work with Chairman Knight and create the funding formula that if that's what needs to be included, then we do that. Totally flexible.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go. I'm going to let you, if you don't mind, stay there. We have somebody. We're out of questions. We had one person sign up to testify. I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back to you. And we're going to. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Chairman, I'm still D.A. King, and I'm still against illegal immigration. I wanted everybody concerned who may or may not pass this bill out of committee or vote on it on the House floor to realize that the Senate and the bill's sponsor has sent a bill. If you look at line 87, defining eligibility, that requires the recipient of this state benefit to be 21 years of age or older and has not obtained a high school diploma. That description will fit thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people who have come over our border illegally or overstayed a visa and are in this state in violation of American immigration laws. I am surprised that there's consideration of this bill without amendments inserted that excludes illegal immigration. It is a violation of federal law to employ an illegal alien, and this bill is all about workforce creation. It's a contradiction. It's a violation of state law to provide adult education in the technical college system without verification of lawful presence. If this bill were to come out of this committee as is, I would be very, very surprised and quite disappointed. I can go on, but that's the meat of it, and I'm glad to take any questions if you had time, Mr. Chairman.
I think we don't. I take under advisement that I would say that I believe there is a state statute in Title 50 against public benefits in Georgia. I think that would apply here as well. I understand that the gentleman has been consistent in his wish to belt and suspenders that and with bills across the state, but I take that under advisement.
It's OCCGA 5036-1, Mr. Chairman.
Well,
Thank you very much.
You have me at a disadvantage. I got the title right. Senator, do you want to? We obviously, I hope you'll help me apologize to your earlier senators, for Senator Hodges particularly, for trying to get it faster. I didn't dream that we would spend as much time on Senator Brass's measure as we did when scheduling this. I've actually asked for a meeting early next week. We would normally not meet till Wednesday. It's a little bit late in the week, so I've asked for another meeting earlier next week, and I'll get with you about it. I want to look you straight in the eye and tell you that I think you and I last year had a failure to communicate on this. I'll take as much responsibility for that as I hope you'll take some and join me in that. We will not do that again. We may not agree on every piece of this. I have a pause personally with whether I'm just going to be honest, and it's recorded. You can play it out there. I have a pause. It is. It's just I have a pause personally with all we heard about the reach and getting into another business when we don't fully fund the one we're in. But I will not have that personal view hold up a measure. What I do want to make sure we do is what Chairman Jaspers talked about the tie-in, further that we don't tie it in. I understand Goodwill is advocating for it, but I don't like directed programs coming from the state. I mean, if somebody, another nonprofit, if another person wants to come in, so you have my absolute commitment to work with you on that, but fiscally sound, delivering for the people. What Chair Lady Dempsey said is where I'm at, and my personal worry about getting into another level of education when we still have needs in reach, and we have needs in hope, and we have needs in other places, can be laid at the side at the will of the committee, and you have my commitment for that. With that, I'll let you have the final word, and then we're going to get out of here and let government affairs go.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Let me turn you on. See, I got it here. I can listen to you, or I cannot. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. I accept your words. Same here. I'm committed. If over the next couple of days you want to hammer out a agreement to move forward, I think as my body, in the Senate, we've talked about. I think for us, it's because the capital dollars, everything's there, ready to start, is getting the bill passed with something that our chamber, your chamber can agree on, and then I think the next step moving forward over the next year, while this program is starting, is sitting down with you and Chairman Knight Chairwoman Dempsey, whoever, and talk about what is a funding formula that makes sense going forward. And I'm very sensitive to where we're at in the budget process, serving on Senate appropriations. So, as we look forward. So if you're committed to doing that, then I'm committed to seeing how we pass a bill.
Committed to work on it with you. Thank you.
Thank
Chairman
you.
Stevens, do you have anything else? Thank you very much. Seeing no further business before the committee. Remind everybody, 7:30 tonight, 403 in the Capitol. Think small because there's not a lot of seats. 403 in the Capitol. Without further, seeing no objection, without objection, we are adjourned.